Hello. I'm back with another crack theory. From the one who brought you The Travelers Could Become Memo Keepers, I'm back to present you with the Kevinly Principles. Oh, that's right. My Finon brain rot has taken over and I am going there. Before I get into it, I should probably present a few disclaimers in case anyone takes me too seriously. I am a story quest player, but my memory isn't always the best, and there are many details that I may have forgotten or never been aware of at all. I play through the Archon quests, character story quests, and world quests, though the last with varying degrees of attentiveness, but I don't read every book in the game. I can't recall every important name in the world of Teyvat, and my knowledge of certain lore is limited due to a lack of interest in particular subjects. I've got blind spots like anyone else. But I do love to ruminate on what I've come across, and I like to look into whatever grabs my attention and see where that takes me. My theories and ideas are open to change and development as I gather more information. So, there is information that is out there that contradicts my understanding of something. I'm very happy to learn about it. Please feel free to let me know anything I might have gotten wrong or misinterpreted. My personal strength in analysis and prediction is really recognizing patterns I see in reoccurring themes and relationships, and it's on that basis that I now suspect the Heavenly Principles could be a Kevin Kozlana variant. For those who don't play Honkai Impact 3rd, don't worry, I don't either. But I am interested in Kevin Kozlana because I play Honkai Star Rail and I absolutely love Finon. Efforts were made to dissuade me from liking a Kevin variant, but they only had the opposite effect. I love a good boy who turns morally gray because he's been pushed into a corner and forced to make difficult decisions in the pursuit of his ideals. Is that the characterization I expect from the Heavenly Principles? Honestly, I don't know if I would go so far as to make predictions about their personality. After all, not all variants in the Hoyoverse behave in exactly the same ways. But they do seem to share some similar values, or else their stories reflect similar themes. And that's why I think it's important to mention that while the Heavenly Principles may play antagonist in our Traveler and Fatui story, they do not seem to be a villain from their own point of view. It seems that the rules that the Heavenly Principles have imposed on Teyvat are intended to protect the humanity that inhabits this world. The curse that the Heavenly Principles inflicted upon the Conrians was only done when the sinners defied those rules, seeking out abyssal power that threatened Teyvat and setting off the cataclysm. This harsh punishment may seem extreme, but setting an example that would warn against future violations feels like something Kevin Kozlana would do. After all, he was willing to sacrifice innocence, like actually 99% of humans, for the sake of preserving humanity. Trying to protect humanity by trapping it in a shell or bubble of sorts is also a very Kevin Kozlana thing to do. But we still haven't even encountered the Heavenly Principles in game, so I won't speculate too much for now. This theory actually came about even without taking any of that into consideration, though I let the pieces fall where they may. No, you see, this silly idea came to me when I was ruminating on what we learned from the Teyvat chapter interlude teaser, the God's Limits. That Asmodee is the shade of space, and how it made so much sense because of her resemblance to Kiana Kazana, the Hersher of Void who has authority over space. Wait, Kiana is a descendant of Kevin Kazana, and Asmodee is an extension of the Heavenly Principles. When she was introduced to us as the sustainer of the Heavenly Principles at the start of the game, perhaps she was always meant to hint at the Heavenly Principles' identity. Beyond their connection through blood, Kiana and Kevin function as foils to each other in the Honkai Impact 3rd story. Because of what he's experienced, Kevin becomes cold and pragmatic, but Kiana is what we expect from our heroes: warm, compassionate, hopeful. She doesn't want to sacrifice anyone or anything in their fight against Honkai. I don't want to speak too much about this because it's not 100% confirmed, though the hints are quite heavy, but if Paimon is Asmodee, Shade of Space, and she has shifted loyalties after having spent time in Teyvat with the Traveler, she could now share the optimistic idealism that we expect from protagonists like Kiana and the Traveler. Once again, Kiana's Asmodee would end up opposed to Kevin as the Heavenly Principles. It's a progression that makes sense as an echo of a core theme in Honkai Impact 3rd. Does humanity need a savior? Or should its survival be up to humanity itself? Put a pin in that. It'll come up again when we explore a certain character's storyline. Let's get back to literary foils. Did my description of two personalities clashing even while sharing an ideal sound familiar? That's because it's a common trope throughout the Hoyoverse, and it can also be seen cropping up frequently in Genshin Impact's various story quests. The Traveler and their sibling, for example, have been showing us through this journey how two starting with one heart and mind can end up in two very different places. But there's also Ei and Makoto, the two who shared the authority over the electro element before one of them was lost during the Cataclysm. Symbols throughout Ei's story make many direct references to the Heavenly Principles, and her methods of control are very similar to how the Heavenly Principles enacts its authority over Teyvat. I suspect A was chosen for this role because she's a variant of Raiden Mei, who has two forms as Dr. Mei and current era Mei, both having strong ties to Kevin Kazlana. First, the statue of the omnipresent god in Inazuma has wings that resemble Renova's, another shade of the Heavenly Principles. I think it's fair to say that a symbol connected to one of the shades could be seen as a direct reference to the Heavenly Principles itself. She chooses to display the visions collected during the Vision Hunt decree here, and looking back, that draws a direct parallel between hers and the Heavenly Principles' harsh methods of control over the areas of their dominion. Next, there is the adage that, according to Zhongli, A likes to quote, "7 ideals for 7 gods, and of these, eternity is nearest unto the Heavenly Principles." Before we even meet her, we learn that she aligns herself with the Heavenly Principles. It is hardly a surprise that A becomes the first Archon we meet who deems us an enemy. Finally, in her pursuit of this ideal of eternity, her methods draw her further away from humanity rather than closer to it. Even though her goal is to protect the Inazumans, she strips them of their freedom and their visions, taking away their very ambitions and crushing their wills. She also deploys a puppet to enforce her edicts, while she hides away in the realm of euthymia because she fears intimacy would lead to pain. These extreme, almost counterintuitive measures are similar to Kevin's plans to save humanity by eradicating the majority of it. But A has since seen the error of her ways and is working to undo the damage she's caused. From A's second character story quest, we get a peek into the past. We learn just how much A and Makoto differed in demeanor and outlook, even while they both shared the common goal of protecting the people of Inazuma. And over the course of A's story, she comes to understand Makoto's outlook, learning to respect humans' autonomy. In a deeply meaningful confrontation, she challenges her former ideals, forged into the creation of her proxy, the Raiden Shogun, for 500 years, overcoming the pain and anxiety of loss to convince herself that humanity can be entrusted with its own future. Like Asmodee, who may be Paimon, maybe not, we may be learning to care for humanity as so many other characters like her have done after spending time with humans. For example, Neuvillette and Little Guy, who both chose to save humanity when they had the opportunity to wipe the slate clean. A learns to live among the people again, to trust in humanity and overcome its challenges on its own. And as her story goes on, she continues distancing herself from the Heavenly Principles. A similarities to the Heavenly Principles, her initial alignment and later distance with its ideals, and the core themes of love, loss, and protection that surround her story are all core themes in Raiden Mei's story. And when taken all together, it all hints at the possibility of the Heavenly Principles being a variant of Kevin Kazlana, because Mei's and Kevin's destinies are linked, however tragically so. It was love of Dr. Mei that set Kevin on the path to becoming what he would become in the Honkai Impact 3rd storyline. To follow her, he joined the Fire Moth organization. This eventually led him to losing part of his humanity, represented in how, after becoming Mantis, his body was transformed and it became physically impossible for him to even touch another human being, including Mei. It was also love of Dr. Mei that solidified his resolve to fight against the Honkai when he lost everything. And later on, it was he who swayed current era Mei, convincing her to regain her form as the Hersher of Thunder and join him in order to protect Kiana. Kevin and Mei seem destined to walk similar paths towards tragedy, both motivated by fear of loss. As I'm sure you've noticed, though, things seem to be working backwards in Genshin. Characters who are cold, pragmatic, even ruthless in their pursuit of their ideals are seen time and time again developing compassion and sympathy for humanity. So perhaps this time, Kevin Kazlana has a chance to redeem himself, to walk a different path as the Heavenly Principles.